From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Azan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Yeah, rocking around the Christmas tree.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Moneyball or Mega Millions in the quarterback market for FSU. What would you do if you were Michael Alford? And we're generating discussion sparked by Cummins. Super long show. Charge up. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it, take it. Use the promo code warchantbogo when you go to VitaminEnergy.com. That will allow you to buy one and get one free, buy three and get three for free. That's how it all works. How does Vitamin Energy work? Well, it's synergistically formulated. The vitamins, the nutrients, and the caffeine all working hand in hand to give you all the power you need, all the energy you need, and to get the mind right. Got our focus improved, our mood improved. Give it a shot. VitaminEnergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code, buy one, get one free. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source, singular dollar for a week, year access to the Athletic. And I don't know, I was listening to Seminole headlines on my way back into town, and actually I listened to the Monday Smash replay as well. Shout out to Ira and Tom. And Corey, Ira sounded pretty confident that before Christmas, Florida State's going to have a GM. So you want to know who it's going to be and what we think about all of it. Check out warchant.com whenever it does happen. Hopefully it does happen before Christmas. What are you up to, Corey Clark, today before Christmas? Several days before Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know, just living life. Enjoying married life. Got some work done, wrote a column, and now I'm getting to talk to you. So life couldn't be better.
One of my
worked out, got a little workout in, did all of it.
Nice. I liked one of the replies to the story you wrote, but I don't know if I have it. I can't pull it up quickly enough, so I totally ruined it. It was good. Yeah, go check it out. Oh my God. Politics as Usual 21 said, I read the title of Corey's article. I thought maybe there was some good news I missed. And then I read the article and I feel worse than before.
Well, sorry. Well, yeah, as I said, maybe I didn't lead. Maybe that wasn't the best headline because the column was basically all about it sucks to lose somebody like Rawls and Pittman, for that matter. Randy Pittman going in the portal too. We'll see, I don't know, man. I think Rawls will have a lot of bidders. I don't know. The Randy Pittman one is just odd, but whatever. The point was, right now it's all bad news. There will be some good news here, starting January 2nd, probably a little before that. You'll start hearing You'll start hearing people commit or saying they're committing, even if it's not official till January 2nd. But right now the portal's just flowing one way, and it's away from Tallahassee. It will start flowing in. But for right now, it's just, trying to bear the brunt of who you lose, and Rawls is a big one.
Yeah, he is. But we are seeing some of these other people. I mean, you were poo-pooing on my guy, Jada Mayava, out there in Los Angeles, re-signing with USC. I mean, there are some schools that are announcing that they are re-signing players. Florida State used to do the same thing, which Ira pointed out to you on headlines as well. So I don't dispute that. I think it's heavily weighed towards a negative right now, or the outflow rather than the incoming cavalry. But I mean, you could also make some coaching hires if you want. You can make a GM hire right now. I don't think there's anything particularly holding you back, but getting Deuce Robinson on board would be a really, really big deal. That might need to be the first and only thing they're focusing on right now. I'd be okay with that. They're like, we can't do the GM announcement right now because we're trying to scrounge up every last penny and every last bit of data to convince Deuce to come back. Because if Deuce comes back, that changes. That would be a huge pivot, I think, in terms of how we feel about things for 2026.
I don't know if huge might be a stretch, but it would be big. It would be a really nice news cycle for Florida State to get a potential All-American, an All-ACC. I think he was first team All-ACC. He should have been if he wasn't. An All-ACC NFL receiver to come back for another year would be huge, and it would be very enticing to a team that's on the quarterback market. A team that's in the market for a quarterback, that would be very good news to have. But, I don't know. They didn't announce Gus and Tony White are staying. I don't know if this is the program anymore that's going to announce that. Also, Yeah, man, it was one thing for Jordan Travis and Jared Verse to announce they were coming back, or even like a Tatum Bethune, I guess, because he walked on senior day. But, like, I don't know, man. Blake Nicholson, does he need to make an announcement that he's coming back?
I mean, Deuce can tweet it, though.
Deuce can. I'm talking about the other when you brought up the USC quarterback.
Well, listen, I think some people are worried that there's rumors that McCoy might enter the portal at some point. Again, unfounded rumors. Shouldn't even mention it on a show of this magnitude. I apologize. But I mean, you got we talk about all the good pieces they have to build around. I mean, what's stopping the Desir twins from saying that, listen, yeah, we came to a new agreement. Don't even have to elaborate on it, but just say, like, can't wait for 2026 running it back with my brother and my brother.
That would be great. It would be great. If I was running PR over there, if I was part of that football program and that front office, I would try to get people to announce things like that quickly. Because it's bad news after bad news after bad news. We'll see what the roster looks like in the middle of January. That's when you'll know when it'll be locked and loaded. And there's probably a lot of good news coming. But this is a fan base. This is a program. This is a radio show, podcast. I would like to talk about good news. That'd be fun. And it'd be cool for all of us, after getting kicked in the gut for 2 straight years, to have something fun and encouraging to talk about. So you're absolutely right. If the Desirs are locked and loaded, and ready to come back, definitely coming back, yeah, it would be nice to announce that. Not normally, maybe you don't make a habit of that moving forward, but this particular offseason, because of what you've just gone through and the fact that, nobody knows who's running the show over there, because your GM's left for UCLA and nobody wants the head coach to make decisions. If you can come back, if you can come out and say that this guy, and that guy are all staying, oh yeah, Deuce is staying too, which we have no idea if that's true or not, but man, that'd be awesome. So yeah, I'm with you. It would be nice to get some good news for a change. And maybe after we're done with this show, recording Aslan, they'll announce everybody's coming back.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be like 2013 headlines where every single time you guys did a show, something important happened after.
Yeah, that's right. As soon as we were done,
got done recording. So let's talk about the GM. We got 2 questions in the mailbag specifically about it. Random_John, who says, thanks for the pick for generating discussion last week. It ended a year-long drought for me. I'll try not to let this kind of power go to my head. Who am I kidding? I absolutely will. Anyways, with the transfer portal opening before FSU can realistically hire a GM who impacts this cycle, it's clear Norvell and the current staff are making the roster decisions right now. So what does that say about the urgency or even the necessity of a GM role? If the administration is comfortable letting a coach with a 5-17 record over the last 2 seasons run this portal window, what problem is a GM actually being hired to solve afterward? And then Noles Forever, wake up. Great shows as always, even during these downtimes. Thank you. How do we expect to attract a potential GM when it seems like Coach Norvell is losing coaches and losing players, and he will likely be fired next year, barring an amazing season? I say all that, Corey, to get the thought of that I had in my head when we were talking about this like 2 minutes ago. We don't know we don't know who it's going to be for GM. There was a name, I think, from Auburn. Their personnel director was not being retained by Alex Golish, and he might be available, and Auburn had some pretty good recruiting classes. I don't think it was a lack of talent over there, but we don't know exactly the power they'll wield, the veto power, things like that. But could it be that we have not heard players re-sign? Could Florida State be on a spending freeze until they get a GM? You can leave, right? Like, obviously guys can leave. Like, I'm not waiting on this. I'm out. I'm going to the portal. I mean, could it be that they really want to give a lot of power to a GM, so they're not going to allow anybody to sign players until they get that GM, and that's why we're not getting these tweets from, guys that we referenced before, like Maiva, USC?
Man, I don't know. I guess that's a possibility, but man, that's rough. That's not that's not good. That's not smart. No. You can't hamstring yourself like this. Number one, the optics of it alone would be disastrous. Like, you're not going to sign people. You're not going to even negotiate until you get a new GM in, whenever that might be. Wouldn't that be cool to announce that sometime soon? It just, the optics of it are bad. It looks like you didn't have anybody in place. You didn't have anybody in mind. You had nobody to step up. You hadn't been doing your homework over the last month of the season to figure out what structural changes you were going to make, which Norvell should have been. Once he knew for sure he was coming back, he should have been sleeping 2 hours a night to make sure that he had somebody in place to come run this thing, or his powers, the powers above him, should have been helping figure that out. And so here we are in the middle of December, and they still don't know who the GM is, theoretically. So they can't negotiate with the players that will make up the team for next year? Yikes, man. This thing, we don't have much time. So if that's the case, that would be, optically, it looks like you have no clue what you're doing. And you're just throwing it against the wall. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I'm sure I shouldn't, that there is a plan in place. There might already be somebody in place or getting close to being in place. It just hasn't been announced yet. And that would be wonderful. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is, they don't know how and who to negotiate with because they don't have anybody running the show. But I don't think that. I would hope that's not true. And I guess maybe Norvell is making these decisions, that's a very good point to ever ask that question. It's like, what's the point of the GM anyway? If all the big decisions on who to retain and who to go after in the portal will be made before he gets here. So any day now, man, any day now over there, it would be awesome to know that somebody is in place and is making decisions for the benefit of the Florida State football program whose name doesn't end with Norvell. That would be wonderful for the fans to know that there is somebody in this sport who has some acumen, who has a history, has a resume, that will come in and hopefully make good decisions for this football team. I'm not saying it's not happening, but again, the silence over there is deafening. We don't hear anything. There are no updates. Awesome. We're just left to speculate that nobody's manning the ship.
In no way was I trying to suggest that was a good idea, particularly to sit here and sit on your hands until you actually get a GM in. But just looking for some sort of reasonable, maybe not even reasonable, explanation as to why things are like this. And then also on headlines, Corey, it's hard to do a recap like days after you spit all them bars. But, Ira talked about, listen, they still have personnel people, scouting departments, still on staff, still getting paid, still doing the work. But again, this goes back to we don't know the amount of power the GM is going to wield, because you feel like you would want people you know and trust making your scouting reports. I mean, obviously, you're going to have to look at the film yourself and then make a determination or a suggestion to the coach, like, I think this is the kind of guy that we need. But you don't want to be the one that's pouring through 200 players and going through all. Like, you'd think you'd want people that you already know, they know what you like, and you're all aligned, that are going to help you streamline your process. So whoever they do hire, I get it. Like, there's work going on right now. They've got envelopes and envelopes and binders full of reports ready to hand over to whoever is going to be the GM. But I mean, is that person going to trust what's in that binder, what's in that folder? It feels very unnecessary to have waited this long for a GM. I just can't imagine what they're waiting on, man. The guy that's, even if you're the GM at Texas, right? Like, or, no, they're not in the playoff. Georgia, right? Like, oh, they're in the playoff. Hey, well, Hayes in the barn, man. I did my part. I set this roster up. Good luck, Kirby. I'm going to Florida State. It's hard to figure out why. Let's go to this one, Corey. This is a good one. 3 direct questions that I don't have answers to. Jimbo 11, wake up. Can you explain precisely how much money FSU is spending for players in 2026, the sources of the money? How much does FSU or the NIL and Battle's End each have budgeted? And is it accurate that Michael Alford is limiting those groups from spending allocated funds?
We'll tackle the last one first.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
I would say, no, that's not accurate. I think maybe there was a thought that would be the case. Because I do think that Michael Alford was hoping, like as Iris talked about on headlines, Alford was one of the administrators that would go to Washington and talk to Congress about this and how they need NIL parameters and college football needs all this help. So he was under the impression, I think, as many ADs were, that this revenue sharing contract was going to go into effect here now. Right now, you'd be operating under the parameters of what that contract would be, which is whatever it was, $20 million for all your athletes coming from TV revenue that you get to pay them. And you get to divvy it up however you want. So if you want to give 19.5 to your football team and everybody else gets $500,000 to share, fine. If you want to do 10 and 10, But the thought was, and I definitely think there's some validity to it. I don't know how much validity, but I think there was some validity to him wanting to be a stickler for the rules and not go over the top, because he does think, and he might be right once this actually deal gets put into place, that the punishment for spending more than you're allotted to spend to cheating on something like this will be drastic. And it could be postseason bans, could be scholarship losses, it could be all that. And you don't want to be the ones caught cheating in your hand in the cookie jar, because the punishment might have real teeth to it. But here we sit now in December of 2025, and we're not any closer, I don't think, to that reality. Because it keeps getting shot down in court. It keeps getting the conference, not even in court. The conferences can't even agree to it.
And Congress tabled it twice.
Congress is done with it, and they should be. And again, we all know where this was going, which is going to be collectively bargained. They're going to make these guys employees. I don't know why they won't do it now, but they need to. But until then, it is going to continue to be you can pay for what, in my opinion, you can spend however much money you want. So in Michael Alford, whatever you think of him, is not dumb enough to bring Mike Norvell back and then hamstring him with what he can spend on this roster. Now, there might be some natural hamstrings in place just because you don't have the money of a Texas Tech or Ohio State. But there is no world, in my opinion, there is no world in which, as we sit here going 7-17 the last 2 years, that Mike Norvell is going to say, look, we need to push this budget up to $28 million, and we're going to have a real shot to win a conference championship. And Michael Alford's like, no, 19.1 is all you get to spend, because we're staying within the rules. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute he knows how important football is, and by God, right now, if you want to be good at football, if you want to be competitive, you want to be relevant, you got to spend money. And he's smart enough, even if you think he's the worst AD that Florida State's ever had, and he isn't, but if you thought he was the worst AD Florida State's ever had, great. He's still not dumb enough to think that. Then he's going to be out of a job. Literally, and also he has bosses. So even if Michael Alford told Mike Norvell, look, man, I'm sorry, you can't go get C.J. Bailey from NC State, or that kid from North Texas, their quarterback that just went in the portal. I know you want to pay him $3 million. No, we won't allow it. Michael Alford has bosses. There are people that pay his salary too. And Mike Norvell can usurp that anytime he wants, take a different route, and go to his bosses and say, look, this guy's not letting me spend money. Do y'all want me to win or not? Now, it would be rich coming from the guy making $10.5 million a year. I get that. But that Michael Alford is not the end-all, be-all. He is not controlling the purse strings completely by himself. That's lunacy. Not lunacy that you asked that question. That would just be an insane way to operate in an athletic department in 2025. So, no, I don't think there might be just natural parameters. I don't think Michael Alford is limiting how much they can. In fact, I know he isn't. That he's not limiting how much they can spend. It would be nice to have a GM in here who could spend effectively and know what to spend it on. But until that day comes, who knows?
There's also a theory out there that, like, the Battle's End and the Seminole boosters are, like, in cahoots. And, Michael Alford doesn't like the Battle's End because they're competing for the same dollars that the boosters are competing with. And Michael Alford cut his teeth as the booster president here at Florida State before being elevated to the AD. And I don't know how legitimate that is, because it sounded like when this stuff all started happening 2-3 years ago, like, there was a good understanding with boosters and the Battle's End that, like, we're not competing entities. We're like complementary entities, if you will. So I just can't imagine that, again, like, there's just these theories that Alford has totally stonewalled and torpedoed the Battle's End. I'm not buying it. But we don't have a firm idea. We don't know precisely how much money Florida State is spending for players in 2026. I think going into the season with some of the reporting that Ira had done earlier this month, there was a number of $24 million on the roster that just finished 5-7.
Yeah, that's what we had heard. It was it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 to 25 million, which I don't know what the going rate is for national powers. I'm going to guess there might have been two teams in the ACC that spent more than that.
Yeah. And then I think Tom Lang had heard earlier, and he pointed this out on the Monday Smash and points out that, everything is fluid because you're going to be losing players and things like that. But there was probably about $5 to $7 million to go get new players, if I'm not misspeaking, Corey. I feel like in terms of the rev share number, whatever, $22 million, and they're going to probably put 17.5, 18 of that towards football. It sounded like they would only have $5 to $7 million left to go get new players after they retained pretty much everybody they would want to retain on this. But listen, I'm sure Rawls was one of those guys they'd like to have retained. Randy Pittman was one of those guys. So that frees up money in a certain way, if you will. So, but no, this is not. We're a public university that we're covering, obviously, but there's no Sunshine Transparency Act on them having to reveal every single penny.
The whole thing is, again, I just want to point out, I know it's our new reality. It's all idiotic. What this sport has become with so much gray area in what you're paying players. Do you have a salary cap? Do you not have a salary cap? Nobody knows what everybody else is officially getting paid. These contracts aren't public record. It's not public information, so there's a lot of innuendo and rumor where, like Edwin Joseph might hear that, I don't know, man, Kai Bates is making 150. And Edwin Joseph's like, I'm making 75. Or that Gator DB that I'm better than is making twice as much as I am. I'm going in, it's all so rumor-filled. And it's gross. Like, at least in the NFL, you know who you're competing against. You know who you're better than. And you see in black and white what they signed for and what their contract is.
Every sport. Major League Baseball, you're seeing certain players got less years, less guaranteed. Yeah,
I just meant because it's the same sport.
Yeah, football. Yeah, but this is not a football problem.
This is the only one. It's the only one that's like this. And it's college basketball is too, but that's at a much smaller scale because there's 12 guys on a team and not 100. It's pure idiocy where we are. But again, Florida State is not going to be hamstrung when it comes to competing in the ACC by their finances. There is no excuse to not be one of the two best teams in the ACC. No excuse. You get more money than all of them to spend, save for Miami. So go use it well. Go spend it well.
Spend your money well. It's easy to do so when you go to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. All the food's delicious. All of it's reasonably priced. The drinks ice cold, crisp, refreshing, fresh, and also reasonably priced. Come on out. Put some music or some money in the jukebox. Get your favorite tunes playing. That's reasonable too. What's the how much does like $5 take you on the jukebox at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill these days, Corey?
I would say that's about 7 songs.
Ooh. Strong.
It's not a quarter a play anymore. I can tell you that much. These modern jukeboxes, buddy.
Unbelievable.
It can be tough.
That's not Bill's fault, though, everybody. That's Touch Tunes or whoever that vendor is.
Yep.
But everything else at the Corner Pocket, delicious, fantastic, reasonably priced. Darts, billiards. It is bowl season, everybody. I know it doesn't feel like bowl season. These games are a bit ridiculous, but
hey, the playoffs Friday night, Alabama, Oklahoma, right. Be there.
That is right.
Also, they're going to have live music on New Year's Eve. I wanted to get that out there. And a quick public service PSA is next Tuesday they're not going to have trivia because they're going to have bingo.
Ooh.
Because bingo would fall on Christmas and they're not going to be open for Christmas. So they're moving bingo to Tuesday night. So if you feel like going and trying to win some money and play some bingo on Christmas Eve, then go do it. Should be a lot of fun.
Sounds like the bingo folks strong-armed the trivia folks. Who'd have thunk? What an upset.
I think if Bill had to choose one, I think he's picking bingo. It's a little more they get a little more
stronger
turnout for the chance to win $250.
There you go.
By the way, we finished tied for third in trivia on Tuesday. We finished third. I don't know why I said tied for third. We won the tiebreaker, so we finished third.
Who didn't bring their A game?
Stephanie. Yeah, sorry, babe.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
In Crawfordville, your home convenience store is Ace Home Center and Napa Auto Parts, located at 2709 Crawfordville Highway. Oh, you still got so much Christmas shopping to do, don't you? And you have no idea what to buy for people. It's fine. That's why you listen to this podcast for Florida State information and gift ideas. May I recommend the Ridge Wallet, everybody? I'm getting married, as you all know, and I got groomsmen, and I'm like, when am I getting my groomsmen? And I've always said to myself, the three things you could always give to somebody and they would be appreciated: high-quality umbrella, high-quality flashlight, high-quality electric toothbrush. Who gets those and is like, I'm not going to use this, I don't need it? But they might be a little underwhelmed, like, oh, all right, cool. But they'll use it. The Ridge Wallet, though, they will use, and they're like, man, this is awesome. It looks great. It feels super cool. And it's also safe and secure. I can add an air tag to this thing, and it will track my wallet in case I lose it. It is compact. It is sleek. It comes with a lifetime warranty, 99-day risk-free trial, and free shipping. What are you waiting for? Head over to ridge.com, take advantage of their biggest sale of the year, and get up to 47% off. And when you're at checkout, try to use the promo code WAKEUP. You might be able to even save an additional 10%. Ridge.com. We are back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code. Candy Knoll. I need to start doing this again. Shout out everybody when they're at join dates. They've been around since November 11th, 2009.
Wow, there we go.
This is only their 347th ever post. Sperry.
So that's about 20 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Picking their spots. Kevin Sperry or Brock Glenn, bless his heart, versus a transfer portal quarterback. Would you rather play and lose with the players we have or play and lose with players we rent?
Yeah, that's a funny question.
Why can't we just pretend it's 1990 again and try and make the guys we have better?
Yeah, it's fair. I get it. It isn't, though, and you don't have the team around these quarterbacks that you did in 1990 where, every year it was or every 2 years a redshirt junior took over at quarterback. That's not how it's working anymore. And look, it's easy for us to say, but, man, there's always the hope that going and getting the guy in the portal will turn your fortunes around. That is the upside of this crazy landscape that we're dealing with now. There's always the hope. So you don't want to kill that. You don't want to just throw up your hands and say, we're not going to go spend money on a quarterback. Let's see if this guy's any good. It just isn't how the landscape is anymore. It'd be, I get it. It was fun. I enjoyed. Those were my favorite days of college football when the whole dynasty was a lot of fun. And there was there was hardly any turnover from one year to the next, except guys that went to the pros or graduated. And now here we are. You lose half your roster literally every year. But no, I think the thought is go get a guy and win with him. But I understand your point. If you're going to lose either way, lose with who's on the roster that you recruited and developed. But I don't think they look at it that way. Well, I know they don't. They think they're going to go get a guy that can make them, good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the rentals all that much. I mean, just play really well. Jaheim Bell was a one-year rental. Keon Coleman was a one-year rental. I think they get probably free drinks whenever they're in Tallahassee. Noli Maximus, wake up. The lack of news around the program is concerning given the statements released prior to the Florida game. Add to that the now recent portal additions, which in this day and age do happen, unfortunately, and the weird carousel of hired or not hired coaches. Yeah. Do you think there is an internal power struggle going on between the power brokers and the mics that is slow playing any of this? Or are we just impatient waiting for any good news at all?
I don't think it's impatience. I don't think you could classify it as that because, I mean, good grief, man. They you have a passionate fan base and you have a large constituency. And National Signing Day was Friday. Was it last Friday? No, it was 2 Fridays ago.
It's Wednesday, but the press conference that we had with Norvell.
Yeah, the press conference was that Friday, so that was 12 days ago now. That's the last time we heard anything from Florida State other than them announcing hiring an edge coach. No official announcement about Surtain, which I guess maybe don't announce. I don't think they've announced the running backs coach yet, have they?
No, but we got some reporting from Matt Lasser that he's been contacting players, so that's...
No, I think he's on board, but they don't even announce that.
Right.
So, literally, you tell people after the Stanford game, calm down, we're going to do a comprehensive assessment of the program after the season. Then after he loses another road game in Raleigh, the team, I should say, or Norvell, however you want to frame it, you come out and say he's coming back for the next year and there are going to be potential structural changes. That was 5 weeks ago now. And here we are, a passionate fan base that really does, I think, I know people, some of them are out and just like, I'm not going to cheer again until Norvell's gone. I mean, look, you go 4-0 next year. They'll be back on board. We know how fandom works. But I know there are some people that are maybe tuned out right now. But the beauty of being at a place like Florida State is you do have podcasts like this in the sense that there is so much interest in this program that here we are talking 2 weeks after their last loss, and people are still listening to it. And people are still coming to our website in droves because they care about this product and they care about this program. And there you are not saying anything, no news. And there's got to be – so anyway, yes, I don't know that that's impatience. I think it's realistic to expect some sort of announcements about something. And again, if you don't want to announce that the coordinators are staying, that's fine. The running back coach, that would be a nice announcement. Is anybody else leaving? What's going on in the front office? What structuring has been done? Are y'all going to even tell us when there is restructuring done? Or are we just going to have to find out for ourselves? Like, because when you don't announce it, when you don't when you don't puff your chest out and be like, look at these changes we're making, in my opinion anyway, this is just my opinion, but if you don't come out and like full throat endorse your, that's not a great turn of phrase, but you know what I mean, Aslan.
Yeah.
When you're not wholehearted in your endorsement for what you're doing, I don't know, man. It's hard to have a lot of confidence in what you're doing. And so I wish they would. I don't understand why we're almost a week away from Christmas now, and you still don't know who the GM is going to be when people are going in the portal every day, and you've already lost a Rawls and a Pittman and an Edwin Joseph. You've already lost 3 starters off last year's team. 1, a potential superstar, and 2 pretty darn solid football players are gone. Now, I guess theoretically they could come back. I mean, the portal does open back up towards Tallahassee in a couple weeks, so they could take their name out of the portal. But as we're looking at it now, man, this is nothing, no news at all. And it's like I wish they would treat Florida State a little differently when it comes to that. Florida State fans, I guess, because this isn't a normal university and people really do care. And especially after 2 bad seasons, they want to know that changes are being made, and they want to be told what changes are being made, not just trust us. We're going to figure this thing out. Heard that already. What specific changes are being made to the front office? And I don't think it's impatient. Here we are 7 weeks after Stanford, maybe 2 months after Stanford, and we still don't know what changes have been made other than you've got a defensive ends coach / outside linebacker, I guess, edge.
Yes.
And Patrick Surtain's not here. And David Johnson's in Arkansas. And Ray is in UCLA.
Yeah, Tokars is in Buffalo, too.
Yeah. All departures.
Yeah.
All departures.
The idea of this internal power struggle is very fascinating, though, because the Mikes both don't want to lose their jobs, right? Like, I think Alford, was interested in the USC job a few years ago, but like he's not going to voluntarily quit. Mike Norvell can't voluntarily quit because he doesn't want to walk away from all this money. And you just think about, like, Mike now knows that they went behind his back and we're looking at, allegedly, reportedly, we're maybe making conversations with Lane Kiffin. So I wonder if nice guy Mike has got like a little bit of an edge to him now, and he's trying to be a little bit more difficult about things and dragging his feet on some things. But I mean, they're both
a good idea.
Man, they're both competitors. I mean, listen, Michael Alford played college baseball at Mississippi State, like a really good program. So I know it's a little bit different, him being an administrator, but like both these guys want to win. Michael Alford gets the better job that he wants if he leaves his place in a much better frame of the way the football program is operating than it was when he first arrived. So I don't think there's ego. I mean, there's egos at play, but I don't think it's ego standing in the way of progress for Florida State.
Yeah, and I will say this: just because we don't know who the GM is doesn't mean that there's not somebody that's already maybe pulling some strings that just hasn't been announced yet. Or even if that's not the case, and that's just me giving them the benefit of the doubt, and the guy doesn't get hired until December 26th. Again, it doesn't mean that guy, in the week that he has to look into the portal and try to figure out roster retention, can't put together a roster that can be competitive in the ACC and win it. Literally, that can happen. I just feel like you're doing yourself a disservice by, again, I want to use that word, hamstringing, by not having it done already. It just seems like you're making whoever the GM that comes in, you're making his job harder by whatever that role is. You're making it more difficult by not having it already in place. That's all.
Some portal news, Corey.
Okay.
Florida State's going to have a linebacker visiting from University of Texas. 80 solo tackles this past season, 5.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a pick. It's Texas Permian Basin.
What level is that? I saw
Division
that on
two. Division
okay.
2.
All
Tristan
right.
X-Line, 6'1", 215, chiseled jaw.
What were his numbers?
80 total, 60. I apologize. 80
That's what I
solo,
thought. Yeah, that's what I
143 total, 19 and a half TFLs.
Come on, man. Hey, if you put, I'm not going to name names, but I'm just throwing this out there, and I know it said he's going to be visiting in January. If you took any of the linebackers from the last 2 teams and put them at, what'd you say it was, Texas Permian Basin?
Correct. The Falcons.
Would any of the linebackers that have played for Florida State the last 2 years put up numbers anywhere close to that?
He had 19 total tackles against Central Washington. 13
But he had
solo.
19 and a half tackles for loss. In 140 in, 12 games?
143, yeah.
But, hey, and also Permian is where Friday Night Lights is set.
Actually, 14 games. I think they might have made a run into the playoffs.
There we go.
But
So
still.
he's a winner, too.
Yeah.
He's a winner, too. Look, you're not going to go get a guy from Ohio State that had 140 tackles, but you could go get a guy from UT Permian Basin, and maybe he's the next maybe he's the equivalent of the Ole Miss quarterback.
Yeah.
But I like production.
Chambliss, yeah.
I like production. He's the defensive equivalent of that. So, yeah, he's visiting in January, right? And who are the other schools he's visiting?
Buffalo, UTSA, North Texas, and FAU.
Yeah. So maybe you have a chance there.
I would have liked if there was maybe another Power 4 program that he was visiting other than just us. But, hey, you know what? Hey, we could maybe –
Playmaker, baby. Yeah. Playmaker. He leveled up. He leveled up just like Jared Burse. He leveled up.
Next up, we go down to Naples. Mark M. Adam CZ. He's got a working theory on FSU football at the moment because all we can do is speculate, right? Information from the administration seems to be under lock and seal at some government office somewhere. Barring 2-10 again, or 3-9 this past season, I think they were always going to run it back with the same staff for at least another year. They had just signed his massive guaranteed contract and his buyout after 2-10 was $10 million higher than it is now. So they invested big in multi-year deals with Gus and Tony and other new coaches. Then they go beat Bama, show a lot of improvement statistically, even with a 4-game losing streak. Those losses were close. The statement from Alford after the Stanford loss was a big nothing burger. Then they smoke Wake and Virginia Tech at home. Doak was pretty packed. Things looking good to the administration. Can't win a single game on the road to close out the year. No problem. There's improvement. Home games are packed. Money's flowing in. Bottom line, I think the administration made a quiet commitment to give Mike and these coordinators at least 2 years before pulling the plug. The result of this season sucked. Mike Norvell needs to move on. Almost everyone agrees. Since the snub, Norvell is 4-17 against non-FCS opponents, but financially, the administration was never going to fire Norvell and the staff unless something disastrous happened in 2025. In their view, it did not. That's a lot of words. Couldn't fit it on a single graphic, Core, but it got its way onto the screen. Just by virtue of all the words on there, we have to discuss a lot. This should be generating discussion, so let's go ahead and do it. The cameras are on. Corey, power to the people, please. Can you provide it? You mix it up on us.
Yeah, I
did. It is generating discussion. It is sparked by Cummins. Follow Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram. Update, everybody. So in years past, they were giving away free portable generators to our end-of-year grand prize drawing. Every single weekly winner went into this grand prize drawing. Mom sandwiches should be showing up soon. Let us know how it goes. Here's what we know. We got some details forthcoming, but generally speaking, Corey, the giveaway for 2026 is going to be, and we're going to do it in August in time for the football season, is going to be pretty much like an all-expense-paid tailgate for 4 people.
Wow, okay.
Cummins going to get a hotel set up, probably with one of our friends in the College Town area. RV, food, maybe a live show broadcasting from there.
All right. Like at the intramural field or something?
Perhaps.
Okay.
We're still
All right.
hammering all the details. So, listen, there isn't anything better than portable power that's quiet and reliable. But I think hanging out with 3 of your friends at a tailgate at Florida State game is going to be a little bit better than that. So, game will be decided by whoever wins, but we're going to try to do it maybe like a night game. But actually, no, I take it back. Whoever wins, you get the pick as long as we can make sure we get the hotel stuff squared away. So enter, everybody. Enter a question. Be a subscriber to warchant.com. Corey, I do have this thought, though. I don't disagree with this. Although I think my theory is that they just like Mike, man. I think they just like Mike and they believe in him and they are close losses. And if we look at this, better scheduling, we could have won 9 games. We've been in Charlotte. If it really was multiple years, that they were going to do this, why did they go get an immediate fix at quarterback? If they were going to give this staff 2 years, why would they have not just been like, all right, we're going to figure it out with one of these quarterbacks we have on the roster? They went and got Tommy because they were in win now mode. Can you be in win now mode and then still also have a 2-year takeoff? What do we call those? Runway? That's the
word. Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, look, they didn't. What are they going to run it with Brock Glenn and Kevin Sperry, a true freshman? Like they definitely felt they needed to go get a quarterback, whether they're going to be here for 1 year or 3 years. I think they thought, and we'll see how it plays out, that Tommy would get 2 years, and if it worked out really well this year, he could run it back for a second senior season. So I think that was the thinking. I don't know if I necessarily – I think Mark's right in his initial premise. Like, if they had gone 2-10 or 3-9, and not only in those 9 games, 8 of them were blowout losses, like he's not back, I don't think. I don't think this was he's here no matter what. I think it was he gave them just enough – he gave them just enough reason to be like, see, or just enough – I don't know, like wiggle room. To be like, look, see how close they were? See how close they were to having a good season? A play here, a replay goes a different way here. They win at Virginia. They win at Stanford. Those literally came down to play like single plays. You could have beaten NC State if you could catch punts, things like that maybe. Like, I think you could squint enough and see how this team was better and was close to having a decent season. I think if it was 3-9 or 2-10 again and it was as bad as 2024, there's no way you could have run it back. At least you saw some improvement. I don't know if that – I'm sure it was always the plan is you don't hire Gus Malzahn and give him a 2-year contract and then fire him. But, losses mounted. And when losses mounted, things change. The quote about everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. The great Mike Tyson. Or Nostradamus. I forget who came up with that. Or who was the guy that did the Art of War?
Sun Tzu,
yeah. It might have been him too. Sun Tzu or Tyson, who knows? But they had a plan, and then they lost 4 in a row. And then sometimes plans get thrown out the window when you get punched in the face like that. So I don't know. I guess I don't agree that it was always an inevitability that he was coming back. But I do agree that it would have had to go horrendously wrong. And I don't mean just 5-7, because I know a lot of you guys are like, well, that's horrendous. And you're right. But if you were 90th again in offense and 106th in defense in the country, and all your losses looked like the Florida loss, that would have been a reason to. I think he would have been fired. But they were just good enough for close losses. If that gives anybody any solace, which it doesn't. So we'll see. I'm sure there are a lot of people listening to this too, or watching this, that think that it's an inevitability he comes back for 2027, no matter what happens in 2026. I don't agree with that, but I wouldn't have thought he'd come back after essentially going 3-7. He followed up a 1-10 season with a 3-7 season. I wouldn't have thought there's any way he would have been brought back under that. But as we both said, all throughout the offseason, it was going to depend on how it looked. And it didn't look as bad as it did last year. They did make improvements, and you can either lie to yourself or convince yourself that a few plays here and there, a couple better decisions, maybe a different schedule, different replay crew, you have a better year and things are looking up for Florida State.
I have this up on the screen right now. You're wondering what the hell you're doing, Aslan. Again, this goes to Mark's point, which I agree with. I think, and Ira was mentioning on headlines that there's believed to be like 200. I mean, I don't know how many of those. I'm sure there's like a smaller faction that's on the group chat that really decides what Florida State's going to do when it comes to making really big moves like firing, retaining their head coach. But there's like 200 big time donors, right? And it seemed like from what Ira was able to gather, like 150 were like, no, let's not fire the coach. Right. So that's a huge plurality of the people that are like, let's keep him. Now, was it all because of the money? Maybe, maybe not. But when you look at this, so 17 teams in the ACC, 6, including yourselves, if you're Florida State looking in the mirror, finished below 500. So they played everybody else kind of like in the top half of the league. NC State was part of a gang of teams that were at 4-4, as was Wake Forest. Pitt was 6-2. You had Miami, who was 6-2, and then you had Virginia, who was 7-1. So I think part of it goes back to that. You'll look at how close these games were. Again, I don't believe this in my heart of hearts, man. I don't think this guy deserves to be the head football coach of Florida State University, full stop. But I don't have to pay the money, right? I don't have to go make the hire, and then my career is on the line for that. I would have done Lane Kiffin back in 2019, though. Y'all remember that. But, Corey, I just think you look at this and you think that, next year some breaks go your way. Maybe you end up getting more than just 2 of the 6 teams that finish below 500. I mean, what if they would have had North Carolina, Boston College, and Syracuse, and they would swap that out for Virginia, NC State, and I mean, who's another one? We can't say Miami, but Pitt.
Yeah.
Right. And so they had North Carolina, Boston College, Syracuse.
Yeah, man.
Seven-win team.
Yeah. They played 2 bad teams and they went 1-1. They played Virginia Tech and Stanford. Those were the 2 bad teams. They went 1-1 in those games. The other 6 games were against decent-ish type teams. The problem is when we talk like this, it sounds like we're excusing being in the same conversation as Cal and NC State and Florida and Pitt. And Florida State should never be looking up at Pitt, ever. Not since Dorsett was there. In the 70s, they were looking up at him. In the early 80s, when Marino was there. But after that, Florida State hasn't looked up at Pitt in 50 years until this guy got here. And now you've looked up at him 2 years in a row. So that's the frustration. Yes, they had a more difficult schedule than other teams in the ACC. But by God, you are also in the ACC. You weren't playing Tennessee and then following that up with Auburn, Alabama, A&M, and Oklahoma. Like, you get to play in the ACC, so there aren't really any excuses for you played a tough ACC schedule. That's that's almost laughable. Not laughing at you, but you know what I mean. Like, There's no such thing as a tough gauntlet of ACC teams. So yeah, a little bit of schedule luck, but mostly it was just bad situational coaching or bad situational execution. But you hope you get to a point where a game against Stanford, a game against Pitt, a game against Virginia even should never come down to one play or two. You should have more talent and be better coached than they are. And you were not this past year. You had more talent than Stanford, but you were not better coached, crazily. So yeah, when you look towards the future, there is a world where maybe next year you get some breaks and you do get better quarterback play. And maybe the schedule breaks a little easier for whatever that means. And you could finish with 9 wins. And then suddenly you feel good again about your program and the trajectory. Maybe. You're still the head coach as the head coach. I think either way, I know this doesn't really answer Mark's question, but the good news is I don't think this past year will have any bearing on how good or bad they are next year. I think what's happening this month is what matters. What they do this month is all that matters. Well, not all that matters, but it's a lot of what matters heading into 2026. Put together a roster that's worlds better than those other teams. However you have to do it. The problem is not many people trust that this head coach knows what he's looking at to put together a roster that can be that much better than those teams. So you're left kind of in limbo, purgatory, whatever you want to call it. And until they start playing and hopefully winning football games next fall, there's always going to be consternation about this coach. and rightfully so. And he cost a lot of money, like you said, Aslan. No. He cost a lot of money. We're not cutting that check. Those 150 people that didn't want to spend their money to go to go pay a guy to go live on a beach, I can see that side of it too. I can be like, no, I don't want to give you another check with multiple commas in it to give this failure of a coach a better beach house. I don't want to do that. I'd rather try to give him a quarterback that can win. So we'll see how it goes.
Going back to the standings real quick, Corey, though, I mean, not to sit here and defend the ACC, but the fact of the matter is, like, you only have one strike by and large. I mean, I know Duke had 2 losses, but that was like 5, like they had to go to the 5th tiebreaker to figure that out. I mean, you're not completely doomed with the second loss, but like, listen, man, Florida State's just, this isn't 2013. This isn't 2023. This isn't 1993. They're not built, I don't think, to go 7-1 in the conference, man. And the crazy thing is, they're only being outspent by maybe 2-3 teams max. So they should be, provided they don't wind up playing those 3 teams or those 2 teams that are spending more than them. So it just feels like this was always such a almost impossible situation they found themselves in, because they signed him, they over leveraged themselves so much on his contract extension. And clearly when they went and got rid of the coordinators and brought in some high paying coordinators, they clearly, that was the plan, was that we have to fix it with this guy. And then 2025, you saw enough that makes you feel one more year, some cohesion, some continuity, a couple breaks go our way possibly. Why couldn't we find ourselves in a 3-way tie and then sneak it on the 4th tiebreaker? I mean, it's not irrational. It's not, but it's also, it feels like, it's hoping against all hope.
It's wishful, but it's not irrational. It's definitely hopeful. And I don't know what percentage chance there is of that happening, but there is a percentage chance that Florida State can be good. Nobody watching this, under any circumstances, nobody thought that those 2 teams would be playing in Charlotte, the 2 teams that played in Charlotte. Nobody in August, nobody in September thought that was going to happen. So we don't have to criticize us for having an opinion that Florida State could be good again, because they could be good again. Virginia was good, for crying out loud. Virginia won 10 games. It is not an impossible task to get Florida State at least to be as good as the 2025 Virginia team. But I also understand the frustration of, why in the world in year 7 of this guy's tenure at Florida State are you just trying to catch up to Virginia and Pitt? Yuck. So I see both sides, everyone. I see both sides. That's what we call riding the fence right there. That's what we call riding the fence.
Also, we got to go. The funny thing, too, is there's a couple teams in the conference that are actually going to play 9 conference games next season. Florida State's one of the teams that's only going to play 8. Will that,
because you get Central Arkansas, New Mexico State, baby.
Will that help you get to Charlotte? Well,
good point. Well, just win them all, Aslan, and nobody has. If your winning percentage is 1,000, you're going to get to Charlotte. So just win all the conference games.
Congrats to Mark. He's our winner for the week. The grand prize, though, drop in August. Tailgate package. More details forthcoming. Check out Cummins.
Cummins Lifestyle on Instagram. Fourth Cummins.
'Tis the season, and with Underdog Unwrapped, you'll unwrap tons of promos all throughout the holidays. They've got boosts, gimme picks, deal reveals, and even some surprises sprinkled. And now is the best time to get into the game. Let's see what's out there for us, Corey Clark. I don't know. I like this for some reason. Miller Moss, 208.5 passing yards against Toledo in whatever bowl game they're playing. I want to hit the higher on that one. You down with that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
What do you think about Dante Moore, quarterback for Oregon, as they host JMU? He's at 237.5. His opposition, Alonzo Barnett, 141.5 passing yards.
I would say under on the Oregon quarterback.
Lower on Oregon?
Sorry, lower. Yeah, lower on the Oregon quarterback.
Okay. What about the aforementioned Trinidad Chambliss, quarterback for the Ole Miss Rebels? 275.5 passing yards, 1.5 passing touchdowns, 27.5 passing attempts, 18.5 completions, 307.5 passing and rush yards combined.
Let's do how many completions?
18.5.
Yeah, let's hit higher on that.
Let's hit higher on that, everybody.
Yeah.
6-1 payout. Whenever Corey puts together his picks for some reason, it's never 5.42. It's 6, right on the nose. 6-1 payout. We're going to bet responsibly over here. That's what we do. We're going to just put like $5 on it because we don't have a lot left. We don't have a lot left in the kitty.
Don't say that. That's not a great selling point.
Well,
that's on us, though.
Yeah,
that's on us. If you were better at gambling than us, you would have quadrupled your money by now.
Download the Underdog app today. Use promo code WARCHANT to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Underdog, make picks, win money. Play responsibly. Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. warchantbogo, your promo code. Island Chief Corey says, wake up. There are a lot of moves being made. Few have instilled confidence in the future. Better days ahead, hopefully. Surtain, Patrick Surtain, Sr., posted a tweet after he was fired, and he seemed to be a bit angry at his treatment. Was he fired to make room for Harris, or was there something wrong with his performance or ability to mesh with Tony White?
Well, we don't know. Nothing official anyway that we would know. I don't think could be the performance. Yeah. Again, that was a pretty high performing position on this field or on this team compared to what all the other positions were doing. So I don't think it's that. I think it could have been like Tony White, just like Gus wanted his own running backs coach, but they got thrown into the mix so quickly and had to go right into the portal in signing day. They maybe didn't think they could bring in their own guys right away. So they kind of stuck with Surtain for a year. They stuck with David Johnson for a year. And now that they're running it back, they want their own guys in those roles. But again, I don't know. Yes, he was not happy. And I can understand why, because again, you look around the rest of this coaching staff, I don't know their position that performed better than cornerback. Receiver, I guess, because of Danzy and Deuce, you can give Tim Harris. But then, if you're making room for Tim Harris's brother, and then Tim Harris's brother is like, nah, I'm good, I'm going to Florida instead, and then you're left looking like you don't know what you're doing. That's the problem. They might have wanted to get rid of Surtain no matter what. Like, there just might have been something that we don't know about, we're not privy to, or it's off the record, that there was a reason they wanted to get rid of him. Besides performance. Maybe it was just a personality clash. That happens all the time, all over the world when it comes to businesses and jobs. But when you fire someone and then lock up someone supposedly to be replacing them, and then all of a sudden that guy's not on board anymore, it looks like you didn't have a cognizant, coherent plan. You didn't have a coherent plan, and now you still don't have a cornerbacks coach. So, I don't know. Again,
it does feel, though, the content of the tweet, which I don't have up, but I remember it, it did seem like there was friction, at least with him and Evan Cooper. So, Cooper's Tony White's guy. If you don't get along with him, you don't get along with me, kind of thing, I feel like. Because, Surtain, with that tweet was something about, like, that fired blank hits different.
Yeah.
I think he was surprised and clearly didn't agree with the reasoning behind it because, I think that was a high-performing unit. But believe it or not, Corey, looking at PFF, there is only one metric which they ranked lower than coverage. Coverage was 67. The only thing lower than that was by 1/10 of a point, 66.9 in run blocking. Yet they somehow had the number...
Right, but is run blocking is coverage for everyone? Because doesn't that incorporate linebackers in coverage and safeties in coverage?
Good point. Yeah.
Just his corners seem to be pretty darn good, man.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, I was just pointing out the oddity that is PFF. But
right.
Yeah, because some people are like, there's a lot of people that also push back and like, why is everybody hyping up Surtain? If his last name wasn't Surtain, nobody would care. And it's like,
Well, look, I don't think anybody really cares anyway. It's a cornerbacks coach. I don't know what rank that is on the hierarchy of a coaching staff, but it's not the most important. It's not the third or fourth most important, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's a cornerbacks coach. It's not that they fired someone on the staff. It's like, what's the rationale for firing someone, like we said, whose possessions seem to work well, but also, again, you were going to have somebody take over that spot that then bounced and turned you down to go to Florida. So it's not a huge embarrassment. I don't even know if it's an embarrassment. That's too strong a word. But it's not spitting in your face, but it's a little spittle. It's a little drool that somehow ended up on your cheek or something. So it's just not a great look. But it's at the end of the day right. Like, it's not – I understand that sentiment too. This is not an OC. This is not a DC or an O-line coach or a head coach. It's a cornerbacks coach. You're going to go find another one, and hopefully the guy you get can bring in players and coach them. That would be awesome. This guy seemed to do a pretty good job of it.
He did.
It would be nice if the next guy can do the same.
S-Rod 1998. Let's see how long they've been around. September 29th, 2022, 2,487 posts. Active.
Oh, all right. Yeah, active, yeah. That's more than 20 a year.
Wake up. In the podcast with Drew Weatherford, he said something that was extremely terrifying and would like you guys to comment on it. He said teams that are not winning in the next 5 years run the risk of being left out of the next iteration of college football, which essentially would be a Power 2 and the TV money necessary to compete. Thoughts? If remotely true, are we not already digging a very deep hole with the decision to keep Mike Norvell?
I would say, and look, man, I wrote a book where Drew Weatherford was one of the main features in it. Ira and I wrote a recruiting book in like 2004, and Drew Weatherford was one of the 4 kids we covered. So I've known him. I mean, we're not friends or anything. I don't think I've talked to him in 15 years, but I knew him when he was 17 or 18 years old. Drew Weatherford has no idea what things are going to look like in 5 years. Just like I don't, just like Greg Sankey doesn't. Like, who can know what this thing will be like in 5 years? So to make a doomsday prediction like that is, to me, just foolish. Not because it might not be true, but he doesn't know that for a fact. What would give him any possible rationale to say that if you don't win football games, so Texas Tech's going to make a super group, but Florida State and Clemson aren't? Come on, man. Like, does that I don't know. Does that pass the test of like credulity? But because I don't think it does, and I just don't think that almost seems like a scare tactic. Not that Drew is trying to scare anyone, but I can understand why you'd be petrified by hearing that, and why maybe we need an infusion of cash, so we're not left behind when the so-called super conference comes together. Florida State is a player. I don't know how else to say it. They're a player. They need to get better, a lot better. But not because if it goes to some NFL model where there's only 2 divisions total and everybody else is playing for scraps in some other league, the Arena League, Florida State's not going to be left out so Texas Tech and Vanderbilt can be in. There's no – maybe I'm wrong too, because now I'm speaking as if I know the future. But I just would think that Florida State, whether they go 500 over the next 5 years or win 10 games a year for the next 5 years – I don't think they're getting left behind because they're Florida State, man. And I hope I'm right, and I hope Drew's wrong. But anyway, Drew has a lot of very knowledgeable opinions, especially when it comes to what his business is. But when it comes to predicting the future of college football, he doesn't know any better than any of us. None of us could have predicted in 2020 what it would look like in 2025. And certainly nobody thought in 2015 this is what it's going to look like in 2025. So to make declarative statements about what this future holds in this sport just doesn't seem to be, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it could be trusted just because I'm sure he believes it. I'm just saying, how would he know? Because we don't know what this sport's going to look like. It changes exponentially every year.
The year was 2005. The book is 288 pages long. The ISBN 10 number is 15997511984. It's called Signing Day.
Yeah.
It is written by Corey Clark and Ira Schofel. In the fall of 2003 and the winter of 2004, authors Corey Clark and Ira Schofel followed 4 high school seniors, Darius Walker, Drew Weatherford, Brad Allen, and Eric Walden, as they went through the whirlwind that is college football recruiting. This is their story.
Pretty good, right?
I've ordered it. I'm going to have you and Ira sign it. I don't know why I didn't do that like 10 years ago, but
you can order that?
It's available out there, yeah.
No way. You got to let me know. So you ordered that, what's today, the 15th?
Yeah. No,
it's the 17th. I want to know when you get it. It's a great Christmas gift for everyone.
Hard copy, too. Hardcover. I ain't getting the paperback, dog. I'm getting the hardcover.
Weirdly, we didn't go to paperback. We didn't sell enough to go to paperback. And I wonder if I'll get even would I even get a percentage of that? There's no way.
No, because I think I'm buying it secondhand.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I don't know. I'll see. Maybe it's at a Barnes & Noble somewhere I can find it, and that'll somehow matriculate
Probably.
to you.
Yeah, find a Barnes & Noble first, and then see if that book's in there.
Sad.
20 years later.
Let's go to Gionol. Were you about to say something, Corey? I was
going to say, I would encourage people to go listen to that Drew Weatherford podcast, though, because there is a lot of interesting stuff, and he is on the front lines, kind of what are we? He's not a venture capitalist. What is he?
Private equity.
Private equity. Yeah, he's kind of on the front lines of private equity, and Utah just said they were going to go do it. The Big 12 is in conversations to do it, and I think they've agreed in principle with Weatherford's group for a cash infusion. The Big 10 is bandied it about. I know it's been rumored even a place like Florida State. So
credit though to Big 12. The Big 12 they're going to get a line of credit. They have to pay it back.
Yeah.
And they're not giving up equity in their university's athletic program for it either. So.
And if Drew wants to just give Florida State,
come on, Drew,
give Florida State a loan without interest, and you get paid back whenever you get paid back. It's like a 30-year fixed, but no interest. Come on, Drew, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Help out your alma mater, man. Make sure they're not left behind when that Super League forms.
Weatherford Stadium. I already like it more than Doak.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to go away from Doak, but I'm all about it. Yeah,
Weatherford Stadium.
Drew S. Weatherford Stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know if his middle name is S or not. It starts with an S, but still keep the S there. That saves you a couple extra dollars where you don't have to. You can keep the S where it is.
Gio, wake up. Happy holidays to you both and everybody listening. After listening to the show you guys dropped on Wednesday, what do you feel is the best approach as far as putting the majority of the money? Lines of scrimmage, elite defensive skill players, bring back Deuce, develop the young wideouts, tight ends, and last but not least, develop Sperry and Jaden O'Neal. Corey, just like you say, we can surprise and win games too. Why can't we have a true freshman or a redshirt freshman that can shock the world? For example, Pitt. Thank you as always for making our holiday season brighter.
Yeah, I'd rather go get the kid from Pitt. But yes, it could happen. I'm not saying it can't, but I just don't think they're in a position to take a chance. I know Castellanos didn't end up being great. I can go ahead and say that. But even he was more of a known commodity and played kind of up to his level than if you'd have gone in with Brock Glenn and Kevin Sperry last year. Now, maybe you're better with Sperry, but we doubt that, right? I do anyway.
You're not beating Alabama with anybody besides Tommy
Correct.
Castellano.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are a bunch of other quarterbacks in the country, but on your roster,
correct,
he was the only one that was going to do that. So, I don't think they're in the position where they can do that. I might be wrong, but you've had two horrible years one horrible year, one very frustrating year, and then 4 out of your 6 years you've had losing seasons. You want to go 5 out of 7 and just take a chance that you can develop a quarterback when you never have? That doesn't bode well. I just don't think they have that won't be their mindset. So I think I know that wasn't even an option, but allocating resources and money, quarterback has to be number one. Well, I don't know. I don't know if you'd spend more money on quarterback than defensive line. You know what I mean?
Right, together.
But your quarterback has to be the highest paid player on the team. Otherwise, you're not doing it right. You're just not doing it right. And again, the sport that they're trying to emulate, or the league they're trying to emulate, college football, more than anything else, you look at that league that plays on Sundays and Saturdays too when the college football playoffs are around. The quarterback's the highest paid guys for a reason.
But also,
so you need to go get them.
How much of it though is the Russell Wilson effect, where he was a later round pick, and then the Seahawks were able to build so much because they didn't have to allocate so much money to him.
Absolutely. But that was – I don't remember who they signed. They had a quarterback that they signed. Was it Matt Flynn? I feel like they had somebody that was competing with Russell Wilson in camp, and Russell Wilson just outplayed him and was better. But they still spent money on Matt Flynn or whoever it was that year. They had still given him a contract, and then Russell Wilson outplayed his contract. That would be awesome. So if you did go get – if this past year, if Castellanos had gotten so hurt he couldn't play, and then Sperry – played the last 4 games and was good, and you went 3-1 and showed some real promise, man, that's awesome. I think you're getting a hometown discount. I think you believe in him, but that didn't happen. So he could. I get it. It would be awesome, but I also think that if Sperry proves to be really good, you're still going to have to pay him like a SEC starter. They're all going to demand that kind of money.
Yeah. I mean, I ask you that, Corey, because I'm trying to think of all the quarterbacks in the playoff from the Power 4 programs and how many of them are not the highest paid guy on their roster. I would imagine Mendoza is. I would imagine Dante Moore is. Not sure about Gunnar Stockton. Not sure about. I definitely know Trinidad Chambliss is not the highest paid player on the Ole Miss roster, unless he's got some crazy incentives if he were to find himself to be in the starter quarterback for a team that actually were to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about Alabama. I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan Williams had a bigger contract going to the season than Ty Simpson. I don't want to moneyball this whole thing. And you're not wrong when you say that they have to hit it on quarterback and you have to maybe overspend to get it right. But part of me, too, is I really think that's the position you need to kind of, I don't want to say go cheap on, but you need to win at that position in terms of like getting huge value at quarterback with the way it feels like Florida State is kind of constructed and what they're willing to be able to spend. Because, yeah, if you go broke on a quarterback, great, but I don't know if they're going to have enough to support a guy like that. It'd be nice to, get somebody that's a little bit under the radar and have them flourish and thrive. Nothing against that.
Well, the good news, and I think the good news, and it's not really good news, I'm almost saying this tongue-in-cheek, but if Gus is the offensive coordinator, that limits what kind of caliber quarterback you're bringing in anyway, in my opinion. Because it is going to be somebody that has to be mobile, that's going to be a running threat that sometimes might run 15 times a game, and this is not let's just say, a really NFL-style passing attack. So a kid that wants to be a first-round pick in the NFL isn't probably going to come play quarterback at Florida State. That doesn't mean you can't go win a bunch of games with these kind of quarterbacks, but just by that alone, I think you're fishing from a less expensive pond. Like the kid from ODU. Right. He might be a perfect fit for Gus's system. He's not going to cost what C.J. Bailey's going to cost. But C.J. Bailey doesn't run. So would he even be a good fit here? Not that he wouldn't be awesome. And, yeah, you could be like, well, yeah, a good coordinator takes a good quarterback and builds around him. Gus is going to run what Gus runs. So he's only looking, I think, at a particular style quarterback. A Plumlee, a Castellanos, a Nick Marshall.
But then you guys talk about they just need to show a quarterback, like, look at all these throws that are out there to be made. You can make them. You
can get the best of that bunch.
He's been doing this forever, though, now, Corey, right? Like,
no, I'm saying you can go get the best.
It has been, he has not had the quarterback that can make those throws, man. He just hasn't. That's why he found himself at UCF, and that's why he found himself having to come to Florida State and be an OC for a guy that was his, coffee lackey.
Yeah, so I guess my point, though, would be with that. I'm not expecting Gus Malzahn to bring in a quarterback that can win a national championship. I'm not. I do expect that he can bring in a quarterback that can win 9 games and get you to Charlotte. I do think that. You can go get the best of these dual threat guys that aren't particularly – you could go get a Diego Pavia type. Now, obviously, he's almost a Heisman winner. But somebody that's not going to play in the NFL, probably, isn't going to be a high draft pick anyway, but is really good at what he does and is a dual threat. There are other guys like that out there, maybe not to that level. But there are guys out there that he could go get. He could go get the best of that crop. You know what I mean? Right. Like, not Mensa, not C.J. Bailey, not the kid at USC. He can go get somebody that is tough, can run, and also occasionally drop a dime and throw, and is a winner. So that's what my hope is. But, yeah, I think Gus Malzahn being the offensive coordinator limits the ceiling of what you can bring in at quarterback. But you can still go get a quarterback that's plenty. You can go get the Pitt guy. He's a runner.
Is that affordable, though? A player who's tough, can run, and can drop a dime every now and then. Like, is that an affordable option off the shelf? I feel like that's a player that's probably going to command a lot of money.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking about the ODU kid. Just using him as a stopgap example. I have no idea if he's coming here and wants to, or if they even want him.
Well, no, there's interest. There's mutual interest.
No, I know, but if they want him badly enough
to,
like, he hasn't committed yet. That kid is, I don't think he was at Old Dominion. What was he making? And what are his prospects that are going to be better than Florida State? Look, you're going to have to pay probably 7 figures to that kid, but you're not going to have to pay Carson Beck money or Darian Mensa money or whatever, C.J. Bailey, name another one. I don't know who the best quarterbacks that are coming back are. You're not going to have to pay that kind of money. Yeah, you're not going to pay Lenora Sellers money. But you can get you're right, man. It's got to be kind of a money ball situation where you get the best bang for your buck at that position. Yeah, and when I say you got to go get a quarterback, I don't mean you have to go spend half of your money on a quarterback, because I don't know that it would matter in this guy's offense. You've got to go get a great fit for this guy's offense that doesn't leave so many darn points out on the field like this previous quarterback did. And if you find that, then yeah, you get off kind of cheap at that position for the production you're expecting. And then you can go spend that remaining money that you saved on not going and getting a C.J. Bailey or the kid from North Texas, although that'd be sweet. And you can go spend it on linebackers. A lot of good linebackers, or a defensive line, or a whole new offensive line, another badass receiver. So hopefully you can save, I don't know, man, $1 million by going and getting a cost-effective quarterback that's great for Gus's system but wouldn't be great at Miami, and then spend that money elsewhere. That's the silver lining, glass half full approach.
Corey Clark, you're a smarter man than I am. We need to figure out a way to make generating discussion like more organic, because I feel like that was the best exchange of the day.
But just run it and put our pictures on it. Put a static picture out there.
We're going to figure out something maybe for 2026 as we unfurl a whole new promo for you. More show coming up right after this. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant, Vitamin Energy, Warchant BOGO. Let's go, Corey. Big Steve-O 22. Good morning, gentlemen. Hope all is well. Aslan, hope you're enjoying the wedding planning. Your fiance sounds a lot like mine, as she knows exactly what she wants. So with the moves, or lack thereof in some eyes, that FSU's made so far, there have been some pretty fair criticisms, but that is all I really hear, is that with no one explaining what they would do if they were in Michael Alford's shoes. What would you guys do? Post-decision of keeping Mike Norvell, use the current landscape, other head coaching hires, and so forth. What would have been your plan of attack for this program? P.S. I listen to Wake Up so much, I now walk into my son's room to wake him up by saying from Tally to Cali. He immediately pops up and says, it's time to wake up.
Nice.
Hell
that's
yeah.
Cool. That's neat.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. And Merry Christmas to everyone that's asked questions. Happy holidays, all that good stuff.
Yes,
so the question is, what would we have done if we were offered?
Yeah, and you had to keep Mike Norvell. And then,
we had to keep Mike Norvell.
Yeah. Well, I guess, post-decision of keeping Mike Norvell. At the point that we were going to release whatever to the NC State thing, I would have set like hard deadline. Can you set a hard deadline? You don't want to hamstring yourself, as you said, Corey, but I would have been like, we're going to have a GM announced within 48 hours of the end of signing day. Like, that's our target. That gives us about a week to get this, more than a week, because they knew after the NC State game they were going to keep him around.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much damage, and I'm putting that like in air quotes, Corey, it is that Florida State doesn't have a new GM announced right now. Because, according to Jeff, it was going to be hard regardless of who got hired to really make a big impact this cycle. But it just would have felt better to have like a name, a face, credentials. This is the person that's now looking at players and evaluating and laid that kind of stuff out. But anything else that you can think of that you would have done if you were the AD?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they played Florida on November 29th and gave up 266 yards rushing to one person. And he was their whole offense. It was embarrassing. It was emasculating. It was just an awful end to a really disappointing season. I would have had a GM announcement. I would have had a GM announcement on Wednesday. I would have made Norvell talk on Wednesday. I don't understand why he waited 2 days to talk on National Signing Day. It's not like they got any extra recruits in the two subsequent days.
Right.
So there was no point in that. It looked weird. There's no point in not everybody else talked on Wednesday. Georgia Tech talked on Wednesday. Florida talked on Wednesday. Well, maybe they didn't because they didn't have a coach maybe in place. But that looked weird. So don't do that. He would have talked on Wednesday. We would have had there would have been a GM announcement on Thursday. And that's what I would have done. If I had known after Stanford that he's probably coming back, we would have had daily meetings. And maybe they did. I know Norvell says they talked a lot. Daily meetings about who is our GM, what kind of power are we going to give them. We're going to figure this out. And all that would have been announced. It would have been decided on Sunday after Florida. Like, this is it. We're going. Call him up. Offer it to him. He needs to be here Monday morning. And then on Wednesday, we make the announcement, and he gets to work. He gets his ass to work. It's a big deal, man. Every NFL team has a GM. They have a front office. It's a big deal. They get paid millions of dollars. College football now has GMs. It's a really big position. And here we are 2.5 weeks after that game, coming up on 3 weeks since they lost to Florida, and still no announcement. For all we know, nobody's even close to being in place. That would have been priority number one. That would have been job one, is I would have made sure we had somebody, I don't know, in the hopper to announce to people. That's all. That would have been, if I had to keep him. The real answer is I would have fired him after Stanford. And just, I know it's a lot of money. It sucks. But I would have fired him after Stanford. But he's not. So here we are. You kept him after the NC State game. So I think starting that Sunday when you made that announcement, I don't care if you beat Florida. Honestly, who gives a crap? It's still a bad season, and you didn't anyway. So starting that Sunday when you released that statement to all Florida State fans in the college football world, almost every waking hour should have been spent on figuring out your front office and what you're going to do to have a roster that can go win some darn football games in 2026. That's the sole goal right now. And for all we know, we're in the middle of December, and it feels like, Aslan, it might not be true, but it feels like they're scrambling, which is very, very frustrating.
Would you have made him get rid of any coordinators? I would have been like, you're not firing Patrick Surtain for whatever reason that you seemingly fired him for.
Well, that too, yeah, I wouldn't give him carte blanche to just make any hires and fire. Yeah, you're right there too. Now, look, he might have had a great reason. Don't know what it is.
Doubt.
He might have had a great reason, but Mike Norvell lost the benefit of the doubt. So no, I would have had him make a like almost like a trial, like present his evidence in his case for why you're going to get rid of one of the more high-performing assistant coaches on the team. And wait, so the guy that's run special teams, it was the linebackers coach this year, he's staying though, right? Okay, that makes sense. Okay, good. That makes a lot of sense. That doesn't look weird at all, Mike. Perfect. No, I would have made him explain a lot of things to me. And the more I talk, Aslan, honestly, the more I think that when Alford leaves, I should put in for the job.
You can put me down as a reference.
I mean, come on now. Who don't you think I'd get some stuff done? It might be crazy. But I would get some stuff done.
You would?
Yeah.
Hey man, put me down as a reference. I'll start the game. I'll be the chair. I'll start back channeling these things. Two more heavy, deep questions.
I'll also take half as much money. I don't know what Alford's getting paid, but I'll take half his salary.
Do you know that Indiana's defensive coordinator was making $189,000 a year at JMU?
Yeah.
I can't find out what he made last year.
He's awesome.
In 2024, but he was making $2 million this year, and now he's up to about $3 million.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's worth every penny.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Two deep questions. Whack169. Wake up, guys. Thank you for doing this stuff, even though I would have to think it is becoming more and more depressing. Hell, Bud Elliott straight up just said he was stopping his podcast, and that one was around for a long, long time. I'm not reading that. That could be slander. My question is this. Where did it all go wrong for Mike? I've done a lot of thinking about this, and I think it was when he had to bring a ragtag lower-level group of assistant coaches with him in the very beginning. Jimbo was telling everybody FSU wasn't wanting to compete. Taggart was fired after, 18 months? Who was going to come here and work for a coach from Memphis? Due to this, it seemed like the initial staff was very poor in many ways. Bad staff led to bad recruiting. Bad recruiting led to bad players. Yes, COVID. It happened. It was real. It hurt. But I think his initial staff was so poor, it started things off on a terrible path. I know 2023 happened, but that was luck and using the portal before everyone else did. Just a horrible staff to start things, and it just keeps getting worse. Thoughts?
Yeah, to ask where it went wrong, I mean, there's a lot of answers to that.
Also, real quick, sorry, Corey. I love how he starts it off with, thanks for doing these shows, although I know it's becoming more and more depressing.
Yeah.
And then drops this question on us.
Yeah, you couldn't ask us a soccer question? Come on. Jordan Dudley, I'll talk about her. Yeah, I think that's one of the big issues with all these coaches that come from these types of places. They don't have a lot of big boy connections from big boy programs. They have to go hire guys that aren't as proven at this level. Like, you can prove yourself at Tulane, that's great, or I don't know, Charlotte.
James Madison. Yeah.
JMU, but, well, that's not a good example because that
Oh,
staff
they've
has
also
been awesome.
Yeah.
They've been awesome. Right. But like Charlotte or USF or Memphis. But the guys you're hiring maybe don't have a lot of history recruiting and developing NFL-style players. They're good at recruiting 2 stars and no stars and turning them into AAC starters and all conference players. Great. But this is a different ballgame up here. And some of the guys that you hire just aren't good enough for it. Now, it would appear your head coach isn't good enough for it because we know he's got 6 years of data now, our data. But I think that's one of the that's why it's always so risky, in my opinion, to go hire somebody from a smaller school, even if it's it's not a Division II school, because you don't know if they can swim in these waters. And some of them are going to drown because they're just not good enough. Because you're recruiting against Georgia's DC. Adam Fuller is recruiting against Kirby Smart. Adam Fuller is trying to evaluate at the level that Kirby Smart evaluates. That's tough. That's not great. Or Alex Atkins is trying to evaluate the way, I don't know, name somebody else. That's tough, man. And you don't know that they can't do it until you see they can't do it. But by that time, it's too late. So that's why I would hesitate on hiring the guys from the Tulanes, and he might be awesome. Or even the James Madisons, and he is awesome. But that's why I would hire, because most of the times it doesn't work out. And a lot of it, like Billy Napier, hired a lot of Sun Belt type coaches. Got a lot of Sun Belt type production. So that's the risk you run, and you don't know that they can't level up. Like the kid from Texas Permian, the linebacker, he might be the next Ray Lewis.
Tristan.
He's leveling up.
Yeah.
But sometimes coaches don't do it, man. Sometimes it's too big for them, and they're not good enough at it. And they're just not good enough at it. And that can be the result.
I have this theory when it comes to Memphis. I just feel like the players they're able, that it's a really good location geographically, and it's actually a cool city. So when you're recruiting, when you're a player, obviously in the deep South, you want to go to the SEC, you want to go to Florida State, you want to go to Clemson, you might want to go to Miami. Well, if you can't go there, do you really want to go to Tulsa? Do you want to go far away from home and go down to FAU? It's Memphis is just this great kind of plan B for some players that are from Mississippi, that are from Tennessee, that are from Georgia, that are from Florida, that are from Alabama. So it's they get almost the first dibs on the second tier of players out there in the country. So it's you have this, there's a built-in advantage already at Memphis. And then they've actually been good now. I mean, they weren't always good. Justin Fuente made them good. And then Norvell didn't crash into the side of a mountain. And Ryan Silverfield didn't crash that into the side of a mountain. So it's just this, it just perpetuates itself because I think Memphis is just a kind of a good job. Maybe this is a borderline good news before we get to the last question, Corey. Report from KSR, that's Kentucky Sports Report. Headline, Kentucky football expected to be in the mix for ACC cornerback transfer. You want to guess what ACC cornerback transfer they're in the mix on?
Is it Rawls?
It is.
Okay.
So it is money then, probably.
Yes.
So that's good. Hey.
Unless Surtain is going to be hired by Kentucky.
Ooh. By the way, they spelled his name wrong. There's only one L in Jabril. Get it right.
Oh, come on,
Get it right,
guys.
Lexington.
Jabril, do you need any more evidence that they don't care about you?
Because I don't know. I was postulating that as I added the Randy Pittman news with the basketball wrap up to the show yesterday, Corey, about, leaving for money sucks. Whatever. I get it. It sucks, but it's better than the alternative, which is you're leaving because you don't believe in this place any longer. So
I think they kind of go hand in hand, though. I don't know how many times let me stop using them. I don't know how many times Oregon loses a starter because he's going to get a couple more $100,000 somewhere else. I think they believe in that program. They believe in their teammates. They believe in their coaching staff and their development, and they want to stay there. The fact that Jabril Rawls, as soon as he got good, was looking for somewhere else to go means that maybe it's not the most. And again, I get it, and I don't begrudge him of going to get money, but Florida State does not need to be a place that's a stepping stone. where you get good and then go to another place. Now, Kentucky, yeah, you're right. Kentucky's worse than Florida State. But that it's like, man, do you want to play for an elite team or not? And if you don't, what kind of – I don't know, man. I get it. It's money. But you can't tell me Kentucky's going to triple his salary. That would be ridiculous. So, you know, these elite schools, they stay elite by keeping their elite players. And they don't always pay them. They don't set the market with some of these guys. Some of these guys really want to be Bulldogs or Tigers or Longhorns or Aggies or whatever. And you don't have to go break the bank to keep them. But it would appear, at least in this particular case, and again, it might have everything to do with his position coach just getting fired. It might not be a coincidence. So that's an extenuating factor. But otherwise, Florida State doesn't need to be losing guys to Kentucky. Not guys they actually want. That's just dumb. That's just dumb. That doesn't need to be Florida State's lot in life. But maybe it's just a Jabril Rawls specific example.
All right, this has been a really long show. We got one last question. It's a deep one as well. It comes from our guy Bakari, Big B7034. Wake up, morning, gentlemen. With how the season ended, the current departures, and the unknown makeup of the coaching staff, who's to blame? Does this fall squarely on Coach Norvell, Michael Alford, other administrators, or a combination of all of them? We were told they have a plan, and a comprehensive overhaul will be done of the entire program. Well, they said they would do a comprehensive assessment.
Yeah, not an overhaul. Yeah, clearly not an overhaul.
And then it could include look at the fundamental way they work and potential foundational changes. We were told they have a plan, comprehensive stuff will be done of the entire program, but it looks dysfunctional at the moment. Other than getting better players, what do you both feel is the priority to get things back on track? Thanks for your hard work and go Noles.
Aslan, you go.
I mean, give Mike his swagger back. Let him start calling plays again. Let him find his feet. No, man, priority right now is to get a GM. I mean, it has to be to get a GM to I don't know, modernize or streamline, improve the way that the scouting and evaluation department works. I know you guys are talking about on the headlines that they didn't make bad evaluations on the whole. They didn't, man. Like Micah Pettis, Pettibone, Randy Pittman, Jerry Wilson, sorry. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of good pieces there. Yeah, but like you can't do what you did on Squirrel White and James Williams, though. Like you hit on all those guys. You can't miss that bad on those kind of players. Like you're expecting that guy to be your number two. It's fine. Somebody else stepped up, but the amount of money you allocated towards the guy that was projected to be your number two, terrible value, right? Like you didn't get anything close to that. Although, listen, I mean, hot take, if he doesn't make that catch against Alabama, I don't think they win the game against Alabama.
Probably not.
So maybe it was worth it all. But I don't know. Otherwise, like I'm all about performance coach, mental conditioning coach for the head coach. But I don't know if that would take A1 priority right now with what they're doing. But I mean, either a GM or a PR person that can articulate something. It doesn't have to be a 3-paragraph release, Corey, just that like, you know, Florida State is closing in on major moves, you know, major changes that will impact the state of the football program. We are confident that they will address things that have been lacking in the program of years prior. We ask for continued patience from the best fans in the country as we work and continue to give them the best possible product that they all deserve. Like something just like that, man, off the top of the dome of a guy that's not highly educated, from a bunch of people in a room that are making a whole hell of a lot more money than me. No one has any idea how to either articulate the plan or the plan. Figure that out.
Sure. And yeah, I would say the GM is a good answer. I think when you look at the evaluations they did, I would literally want to go into, if I was the GM, I would go into, it's to answer the question, it's Norvell's fault. It's his program. I mean, it is. I'm not going to blame an AD because they went. I mean, Michael Alford, what is he going to? What kind of opinions should he have on a football team other than win games? But I would go into Tony White, and I praise Tony White and Knight and those guys, but mainly Tony White, for being able to discern that Jabril Rawls could play and Earl Little was a good player and the Desir brothers needed to play. But I would ask them, why is DeMonte Diggs here? What did you see in him that made us spend, I don't know what amount of money you spent on him, but why is he here? What was the thought process there? What was the thought process in James Williams, and why did he not get any better at all and actually became just a role player? because he just couldn't. He just wasn't big enough. He didn't get fit. He's not physical enough. He's not strong enough.
Yeah, could Diamante Diggs and James Williams' salary have gotten you Lee Hunter?
Right, yeah. Or throw in McCray, and Jenkins. You went and got a bunch of just guys. What was the thought process there? And the answer might be, well, look, we were told we could only spend this amount of money because so much had to go to an offensive line, a quarterback, and the receivers, that this is all the money we had for. And I'm like, that's a great answer. That's a fine answer. We're doing better this next time, though. We don't need – and I'm not – again, it sounds like I'm just dissing those kids. I don't mean to. But they're not impactful players. You've got to go get some impactful players. And so, in hindsight, spending whatever you spent on Darrell Jackson to come back was bad money. If you think of the amount of money that Darrell Jackson and James Williams probably combined to make, and you could have gotten maybe 4 more players for those two that would have been decent to good college football players as opposed to just a bunch of guys, which is what it felt like you had at times this past season up front. So I would want to know the thought process that went into putting together that roster next year. What changes you're going to make? What avals do you regret? What avals do you stick by? And what was I would get all that information because that wasn't good enough. What they did on the defense when it comes to linebackers and when it comes to the front seven, what they did just wasn't good enough. And I want assurances that if I give you a little bit more money to spend or a lot more money to spend, you're not going to make these same kind of misevaluations or mistakes. I want guys in there that can play that we're just not using for depth pieces. And so let's hope that because I was just thinking when you were talking about, if you don't have a GM right now, which clearly it doesn't seem like you do, you still got to look in the portal. Who's looking in the portal? Where Tony White and Knighton are looking in the portal. And Gus, and I assume Gus and Norvell are looking in the portal and determining who are their guys and who they want to go get. That's fine. I mean, they all have track records of being able to evaluate. So I guess that's where we are right now is these guys are evaluating themselves without a GM over top, without any GM oversight. But when the GM gets in there, I want to know what you think your depth chart's going to be, what you're spending on these positions, who's your best player, who are your 2 best players, where do you need more money, all that stuff. That's all that's all a GM is for. Player retention and player addition, in my opinion. And you've got to help these guys make better decisions across the board. And let's hope there's a guy out there that's doing that now, but if he's not doing that now, he'll be doing it by the time you're listening to this.
Hell yeah. Let's go. We're done.
Hey, Luke Laux, let's get it together, guy. You got a couple of pretty, I think, easy games by comparison coming up. Yeah. Got to get back on the winning side. Get these guys playing with some confidence again. That was ugly again on Tuesday night.
I'm fine with it, though, man. Let them get their lumps. I like it. I'm trusting the process with him and all these tough games, but that is brutal. That what they start off ACC play at Carolina, host Duke.
Yep. That'll be fun.
Thanks, Jim Phillips. Thanks for that sandwich 2 years ago in Charlotte.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's right. He did give me that. I don't forget, Jim. That really meant a lot for real.
That is a wrap for us. Jeff Cameron Show. Check it out. Might be dropping before its usual time slot. Maybe it's still going to 4 o'clock. It's kind of the holiday season where things are up in the air.
Yeah.
But we're out here working for you, especially over at warchant.com. Come check it out for only $1. He's Corey Maslon. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. Warchant BOGO, your promo code.